Hi everybody and welcome to SA Cricket Magazine, and I've got Mark Keohane with me. Mark, I watched enough cricket over the years to know greatness when I see it, and in light of Faf as our captain, and we both agree that he should be gone as a captain, he should retire gracefully. Again, 3 and 35. The stage was set for him yesterday to make to show all his critics wrong, and again, disappoints. But if you could have any one captain in the world, forget about nationality, and you could draft them into this to the Proteas setup, who would it be?
It would have to be Virat Kohli. I mean, we've seen a lot of captains come and go. Graham Smith was outstanding when he was captain of the Proteas. We've seen the likes of Steve Waugh back in the day. Steve Smith, I thought, was very good. He was prolific when he captained Australia in terms of his run scoring. He added mongrel. Obviously, the Sandgate thing killed off his captaincy for now. But Kohli has just added a dimension to world cricket in every format of the game, T20, Test, and ODIs. And he's done it at every level, provincial, franchise, and national. And he's such a departure from anything we've ever seen with an Indian captain.
What do you mean by that?
He's aggressive. He's in your face.
He's intense.
He's intense, and the closest I've probably seen to it in terms of captaincy was Steve Waugh, in that he allows for nothing from his teammates, and he allows for nothing from himself. He's so hard on himself. Yeah. And the difference is, though, he is without a doubt the best batsman in the world. He comes in at number 4. If he doesn't get over 50, you're surprised. And invariably, if he does get over 50, and his statistics show that every second innings he goes on to 100, be it ODIs or Test matches. And at 31, he's got 70 international hundreds. The only surprise, 94 not out in 80 T20s, has been his highest. You think he would have gone to 100 there already. But just watching him again in the first 2 T20s in New Zealand, the intensity, the mongrel, the attitude. I mean, that guy goes on the field to win, and off the field, completely different character. A lot of humility. I follow him on social media.
Sorry, Mark. He's making 250 million rand per year playing cricket. Like that's his deal. That obviously may include sponsorships and stuff like that. But so the wealth hasn't diminished his hunger. I mean, you said there about his intensity, his mongrel. It was so evident in the 2 T20s in New Zealand, the way he was clapping, the way he was chastising people, but not embarrassingly so. He's very hard on himself as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just to be making that sort of money and still have that hunger to be playing against the likes of New Zealand, who are not one of the better sides. Well, I guess they're not. It's not India, Australia, is it?
No, I mean, New Zealand at home, always a different kettle of fish with those dropping pitches. But I go back to his earlier days, Kohli, when he went to Australia and he scored a lot of hundreds, and he was up against a very good Australian attack, and that short ball bounced at him. He just took them on. Dale Steyn against him at the Wanderers bowled one of the most amazing overs, and he took his head off every ball, beat him outside the off stump, but he just hung in there and ended up producing another fantastic innings. And 2011, when India won the World Cup under Gary Kirsten's guidance, Kohli was the one who led the lifting of Tendulkar on his shoulders in the lap of honour, and said it was an honour for him to play with the little master. And Tendulkar said Kohli would go on to break all his records. That's how good he was.
No one believed him at the time.
And no one believed him. He said, this guy is something special, and it's amazing. He made his debut as an 18-year-old, scored 10 runs, that was in November of 2006. Wasn't supposed to play the next game because his father died, decided to play, got 19, honour of his dad, and I don't think he's ever looked back. Yeah. And one of the most popular players in world cricket, regardless of which country he's in, and has such respect from the opposition and from his teammates.
Well, speaking of the master, is it unfair to draw comparisons to these two players?
I think it's very unfair. I think you can draw a comparison in terms of what they contribute to that Indian team, to world cricket, and their talent. But Tendulkar played in a very different Indian side, where often it was Tendulkar against whoever else they were playing. Yeah. As Kohli has made mention often, as well as he plays, he says he bats in probably the best top 6 that world cricket has seen for some time. There's so much depth in that Indian batting lineup. And when Kohli does occasionally fail, they still get to 400 in Test cricket. They still get to 300 in ODIs. There's someone that also comes out and scores. And what Tendulkar was also opening often in his ODI and T20. He didn't play many T20s, but the ODIs he was opening the batting, where Kohli still comes in at 3 or 4 or 5 because of the amazing opening partnerships that India have got. So I don't think a comparison is fair. I think just to acknowledge both players as being something pretty special in their generation in world cricket. And Kohli at 31, I think he's still got 5-6 years left. So he's definitely going to challenge that 100 international hundreds, which only Tendulkar has achieved.
Yeah, and let's not forget that he bats over 50 across every discipline of the game. That's incredible.
Only player to ever do that, to consistently average T20, ODIs, and Test, a 50 plus. And to be able to do that at Test level and also replicate it at T20 level, I think is, it shows where the game has evolved to as well, but it just shows the magnitude of his mastery of his skill. Because again, I follow him on his social media accounts. This guy really puts in the effort and he grafts hard, and he's as much about healthy lifestyle. He's always showing his pre-season warm-ups outside of cricket itself.
He's a consummate professional, isn't he?
Without a doubt. And you speak to other players and you look at interviews that other players have done. When they talk about a player with reverence, they talk about Kohli.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're going to build any franchise, you start with the likes of a Kohli and then build up from there.
No, without a doubt. And I mean, the one thing is, when they have clicked together, to see Kohli and AB de Villiers bat together in the IPL, I mean, it would usually be any bowler's nightmare. And then I've read interviews with both of them, and de Villiers says he just sits back and watches this genius bat. And then Kohli says he sits back and watches this genius bat. So when they have fired together, it's just been something really special to watch. And
almost unfair on the bowlers, really.
Yeah, and in terms of batsmen that we've seen in the last decade, I would class Steve Smith, AB de Villiers, and Kohli right up there as the three that you just think, wow, they were something above the rest.
But who would you pick?
I would pick Kohli. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would pick Kohli, and I would pick him because I think of all the three, there would be the greater reliability would come from him. Yeah. But if you wanted flamboyance, you'd have to pick AB. Yeah?
Oh, of course you would. Yeah, for sure. Look, I mean, it's the subcontinent's blessed with talent, and especially since the IPL has grown. I mean, it's big in Australia, but it's huge in India, and they keep bleeding players. And if we're a conveyor belt for rugby players in South Africa, they're a conveyor belt for cricket players in India. I mean, it's unreal.
You know, a lot of people knocked the IPL in those first 2 or 3 seasons, and their system being five international players, 6 locals, and by putting 5 in at that back in those days, they were making sure that they had international pizzazz, they had a global audience. But primary to the IPL, as much as it was a money-making thing, was they wanted to develop their best young talent who got to play alongside these legends of the game and some of the best international players in the world. And the Big Bash is kind of probably the only one that can compete with it. Yeah. And that's where we're still so way behind in terms of what we've given to our local players and the chance to play with the likes of Kohli and that. And I go back to the early days when Jacques Kallis and Herschel Gibbs were both kids who had come out of school at 18, and they played for Province. And Herschel Gibbs opened, and Jacques Kallis batted 3. And Herschel Gibbs opened with Desmond Hayes. And that's where the tutorship came. And Desmond Hayes, one of the great opening batsmen of world cricket, said back then as well, he said these two will go on to play for South Africa many, many times. He said that guy's going to score the most runs, probably in Test cricket, definitely for South Africa, but you may not remember one of his innings. He's going to underachieve, but you remember every one of his innings. And he was talking about Gibbs and about Kallis, and he was so spot on in his kind of summary of them. But both of them speak about the value of growing up playing alongside a player like that. Sean Pollock says playing alongside Malcolm Marshall for the Dolphins was the key to his fast bowling success. And that's where we're probably lacking at the moment. And you look at the Proteas, how inept they've been in the Test series against England. They are ranked near the bottom at the moment. India's at the top. You look at who's leading the one side, who's leading the other, and you look at the two teams' top 6 batters. And it's just a no-brainer. That's why one team is ranked 1 in the world. And I think we had 6 points going into this 4th Test, and we've lost them because of a slow over rate. So I think we're right at the bottom of the Test standings at the moment.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, to the people in the subcontinent, you've got some great talent, and Kohli to me is the best player in the world right now, and we're exceedingly jealous. So Mark, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Thanks for your insight, as always, and look forward to our next show.
Thanks.